Hello, everybody. Let's get underway with our week 8 announcements. We're about halfway through the semester and we are in our last part of Unit 1. After this week, we'll be moving on to our exploration of the solar system, where we'll start with the general overview of the solar system, and then we will go into how our solar system formed. But for now, we're going to be focusing on telescopes, the tools of the astronomer. What are some of the big things that you need to know that are coming up in the class? Quiz 3. Remember that we have two quizzes before each exam. So the first of the two, getting ready for exam 2. Quiz 3 is going to be next week during week 9. Of course, you'll have your first attempt on Monday. That'll be the 15th of March. Your second attempt on Thursday. That'll be the 18th of March. And then we'll have a discussion where I release some targeted feedback to you all that you can read through and then respond if you want to get supplemental help in preparing for your second attempt. What is quiz 3 going to cover? It covers all of unit 1, part 4. That's everything about light. So that's the electromagnetic spectrum, that's thermal radiation, and spectroscopy, which makes it a pretty big quiz. So hopefully you can buckle down and start studying on it. I have the quiz 3 hints available to you already on Canvas. They're under the week 8 module, or you can always go to the quiz hints and exam must knows module at the bottom of the modules page. You can start going through that. We have a homework that's due on that this week as well. So hopefully you'll get plenty of feedback and help. Do make sure to go and look at the practice problems for the thermal radiation laws that were in last week's week 7's module. Those should help you with understanding how to work with the thermal radiation laws in this class mathematically. I have both questions and then answers so you can check to see if you're doing things correctly or incorrectly. If you need any additional help, of course, please ask, and I will release extra information, supplemental instruction that's targeted for what you need most. All right, so we are now in pre-exam 2 extra credit opportunities. So there are 3 opportunities that you can do. You can find those in the extra credit opportunities module, and they're always the same 3. You can write an essay on a space mission, you can write an essay on an astrophysicist, or you can do a lesson, maybe something like the thermal radiation laws, and record like a 5-minute lecture that is you trying to teach that material. Those have to be completed before we have exam 2, which is a couple of weeks away. All right, so I'm going to be releasing our next Astronomy in Context video this week, episode number 5. I'm really excited about this one. This is actually the video that had me thinking about this entire series. So I finally am working on putting it together. It's going to be about human color vision, how we actually see colors with the human eye. So it's going to be about the human eye, how we actually see color, and really I'm going to be talking about how our human eye is a electromagnetic wave detector that has 3 different color channels, red, blue, and green. And all that combines together to give us color vision. It ties in very well with the Unit 1 Part 4 material. For live with Dr. Lindsay sessions, I'm going to start trying to give you announcements on what they will be covering every week. So for the Thursday session, I want to be a question and answer and examples on working with the thermal radiation laws and telescope math. If you want to go over things like how telescope size correlates to brightness of images, things like that, it would be a great time to log on, ask me questions about that. If you want to ask me questions about angular resolution, that's usually a trouble point for a lot of people, go ahead and log on. And it's basically going to be a question and answer session about all the things that you might be having trouble with Unit 1, Part 4, and moving into Unit 1, Part 5 about telescopes. It's going to be a little bit more directed for our Friday session. That's 2 to 4 p.m., where I'm going to be doing a quiz 3 review session. And for this, I ask that you go through the quiz hints and make a list of where you're having trouble. Is it thermal radiation laws? Is it understanding electromagnetic waves in general? Is it understanding spectroscopy? So make a list of questions. Log into the live with Dr. Lindsay session. Try to be there at about 2 p.m. Depending on attendance and how continuous it is, I might try to reset things at 3 p.m. So try to show up at either 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. And come with questions to ask me. If there are people in there that are asking questions, of course, you can sit back, watch, and just take notes. But if there aren't people asking questions, then it's just sort of us looking at one another, or people logging in, seeing that they're the only ones there, nobody's asking questions, and logging right back out. So prepared questions is great because then I can give you what you need rather than me just talking at you. All right. So what assignments? As always, our week 8 engagement exercise is due this Sunday. So just make sure to be working on that. It's available to you already. Maybe you already knocked it out. Watch the videos, go through the unit slides, and just make sure you get that done by Sunday. We have a big homework assignment due this week. Hopefully, you have already started it. And it's actually such a big part of this class that I've separated it into two different parts that are both due at the same time. I have homework 5 split into part A, which is the non math part, just sort of the multiple choice matching type questions. And you'll get 3 attempts for that. Uh, and then you have all the math based questions, which is mostly thermal radiation laws, which I've put into a different homework assignment, part B. And then that way, I can give you 4 attempts in the math part because people tend to have a little bit more trouble with the math part. And also, you won't have to go back and answer all those other questions just to get another attempt at the math part. So it allows you to focus your efforts. And hopefully, this will make it so it's a little bit easier to navigate. And then this also prevents it from just all being lumped into this one giant assignment that will most likely not have you using all your attempts to maximize your grade. So that's why it's split into 2 parts. Please remember that they're both due this Wednesday, the 10th of March at 11:59 p.m. This is a great one. I know that Canvas discussions aren't the most popular thing, but if you're having trouble, post your questions. Just say, hey, I'm having trouble with question blah, blah, blah. And then you can list what your question is. Don't provide what answer you put because maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. You don't want to steer or prime other students. But you can list what question you have, or you can change the numbers if it's a math question, just make up some numbers and I'll work through that example with the numbers that you made up. Or I'll just make up numbers of my own. That way it's a sort of neutral sort of example that I can work out. And then I can post it right on the Canvas discussion. It's easy for me to type equations in there and to take pictures and add pictures. So it's a really useful way for me to give you math help. Okay, so that is a lot about homework number 5. Hopefully, you have already started. If not, I suggest doing your first attempt today or tomorrow. You can't wait till the last minute on this homework assignment and expect to have a really high grade. What do we have on the horizon? So, what's due during week 9? Well, we'll have the week 9 EE, no surprises there. And then we're going to have homework number 6, which is Unit 1, Part 5 homework, which is all about telescopes, which is due a week from this Wednesday, the 17th of March. And as always, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's it for the announcements and assignments. But if you want to go ahead and hang on, I'm going to give you a little bit of update of what Perseverance is up to because yes, it landed and it's been operating for roughly about 2 weeks now. So what has it been up to? Is it just sitting there? Has it flown the helicopter? No, it hasn't flown the helicopter yet. It's just sort of stretching out and making sure everything's working. But one of the first things is NASA always likes to give geologic features or special locations, special names. These are not official names. All official names for things go through the International Astronomical Union, not NASA. But the names that NASA comes up with are usually used in papers. So if you have people that are communicating the landing site, everybody is going to be referring to that in their journal articles, and this is going to go down into the media articles. So the landing site has been dubbed the Octavia E. Butler Landing. And here you can see the western edge of Jezero Crater. You can see the sort of delta system. And you can see where the landing site was. And it's been dubbed Octavia E. Butler, who is a relatively well-known, or as in the science fiction world, a very well-known science fiction writer. Won both the Hugo and Nebula Award winners, the first science fiction writer to win a MacArthur grant. So a excellent sci-fi writer, and I can't think of another more deserving name based on her characters that are all about exploration and going out and doing persevering and doing all these amazing things. So a great name for a great landing site. And maybe you know a new author that you can look up and maybe you'll get hooked on sci-fi. All right, so now we know where it landed. Let's take a look because it just recently took its first drive. So the first drive is not just like, okay, let's just go ahead and haul across the planet Mars. It's checking out that all the wheels work, that it drives, it's calibrating everything so that it knows how to drive with high accuracy. It's making sure it can rotate and turn on its own. Has 6 wheels. It's a 6-wheel drive sort of vehicle. So it's just testing all of that out. So what it's doing is it's went from the landing site and it drove only about 6.5 meters. That's about 21.3 feet. Not a huge drive by any means, but here you can see some of the tire tracks. It's done some rotations and things like that because it can use all 6 wheels. It can rotate them counter to one another to sort of spin in place. And that's really important to check things like it did a maneuver of let's spin 150 degrees exactly to the east. Okay, we got there. Now let's go back to center and spin 150 degrees to the west. Exactly. So they're testing out all of those systems. What else has it been up to? Well, it's been providing some wonderful images. It has this wonderful panorama, which I sent on the group me and in the Discord. I highly encourage you to go check that out. Actually, click on the image so you can pan around in a panorama. But a lot of people have been dicing this up and starting to look closer at the super high resolution images that it's getting. And right here is one of the geologic features that people have gotten excited about. It is a picture of some delta sedimentary rocks or rock formation. That's this big chunk right here. You can see the layers. It has sort of a rough cap on the bottom. This is or a rough cap on the top. So this is sedimentary rock. If it's all plays out as we are expecting. If the hypothesis is true that this is an ancient river delta, this was formed by water deposits and water sedimentary processes. So we're super excited to look at it. This is about 10 meters tall and it's about 200 meters across. This foreground boulder right here is about 6 meters across and it's only about 130 feet away from the rover. But the actual, this huge deposit right here, this delta sedimentary deposit. That's a full 1.4 miles into the distance, which would be 2.3 kilometers. Other things it's been up to, it's really just been sort of stretching out. It has this really long robotic arm that has 5 different pivot points on it. So they spent pretty much an entire day just unfurling that arm and then stretching it out and then moving each one of the joints individually to make sure everything's working perfectly. So it's stretching out, it's getting ready for science operations, it's making sure everything's working accordingly. And so far, we're at 100%. Everything's working as expected. So good job, Perseverance. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy week 8 about telescopes.